Alright, we're getting ready for STAAR, and here we have TEK A-2I, which is Writing Systems of Linear Equations. There are two typical types of problems here, some from tables or graphs that we have to come into the equation, or word problems. Let's start off solving the word problems. There are 15 plates in a cabinet. That sounds like a total so far. The diameter of each plate is either 7 inches or 12 inches, so there are two types of plates. The diameter of all 15 plates combined is 140. That sounds like another total. So we have two different totals. 15 plates in the cabinet, so 1 is going to be equal to 15. And then when they're talking about the lengths, that is going to give us a total of 140. So we got to keep these two things separate in our brain. One is just totals of numbers, and the other one is totals of lengths. So let's try and figure this out. What are the two total types of plates? There's the 7-inch plates. What letter would we want to give to that? We could give it X. And then there are 12-inch plates. What letter would we want to give to that? We could give it Y. So however many of the X 7-inch plates plus however many of the Y 12-inch plates will give us the total number of plates. There's our first equation. Fair enough. The second type of equation is dealing with the actual lengths. So it's however many of the X length plates, and how much was the X length? 7. So it's 7 times however many of those plates there are, plus Y, which is the 12-inch plates, so 12 times however many of the Y plates there are is going to give our total there. Let's check our equations and see which one matches. No, both of those are written like that. X plus Y equals 15, 7x plus 12y equals 40. C is the answer. Alright, here we have another word problem. A drummer and a guitarist each wrote songs. The guitarist wrote 8 fewer than twice the number of the... Alright, so here we're starting out with the guitarist. G. He wrote, so he equals 8 fewer than twice the number of songs that the drummer wrote. Well, twice is pretty simple. 2 times the drummer, and then 8 fewer. Now, the phrase 8 fewer or less than is a tricky phrase. Some students want to write it like this. Since it says 8 fewer first, they put 8 and then fewer minus twice the number of the guitarist, or the drummer rather. But the phrase 8 fewer is subtracting, and we know subtracting has to go at the end of this type of sentence just by the structure of the English language. Either less than, if it said 8 less than, we'd do that same thing. So we put twice the number of the drummer, and then we take away that 8. Now we work on the other equation. They wrote a total of 46 songs. So we see a total, 46. And what's that total of? Well, both the number of the guitarist plus, that is a mistake, plus the number of the drummer. Let's compare equations here. G equals 2D plus 8. That first one works. G plus D equals 46. That one works as well. Alright, here's that other type of question that's this time from a graph instead of the first one was from a table. Let's finish doing the word problems. A sports magazine prints 12 issues per year. A technology magazine prints 10 issues per year. The total number of pages in all the issues of the sports magazine for 1 year is, so the total is 32 more than the number of pages in the technology magazine for 1 year. So in this case, you have to know something about how magazines work. It talks about issues per year. That's how many times the magazine comes out. And within the magazine, you have a certain number of pages. So in this problem, you're given, it says that the total number of pages in the sports magazine, we'll call that S. Now, how many pages would be in the sports magazine in 1 year? Well, if 12 issues come out, 12 times it comes out, 12 times S, the number of pages in each one, right? S is the number of pages. It told us that later in the paragraph. So it's 12 times the number of pages in each of those, and then that sentence saying the total number of that is equal to 32 more than the total number of pages in the technology magazine, and we'll call that T. So that's 30 T. And technology had 10, so it'd be 10T. So there's one of our equations. The total number of the science sports magazine, 12 issues, is equal to 32 more than the 10 issues with the technology magazine pages. All right, so that's one sentence. The second sentence, each issue of the magazine has 18 fewer. So the sports magazine, sports, has, is equal to 18 fewer. Now remember again, that's that phrase, fewer. So you don't do 18 minus when it's less than or fewer. You're going to end up putting that at the end than the technology. All right, so now let's compare our equations. We look and we see here is this equation, S is equal to T minus 18, that's fine. And then the second option for A, 12S, it looks like it's matching up, is equal to 10T. Well, we put ours second, they put theirs first, but we know when it's just addition, it's not going to matter, so that matches. So we found the equations that work, and when we look at B, C, and D, they are wrong. All right, now we're on to the next word problem. We've got a bag that contains 18 coins consisting of quarters and dimes. So that's a total. The total is 18, so equal to 18. And it consists of two different types, quarters and dimes. The number of quarters we have plus the number of dimes we have is equal to 18 total. So that's the first type of sentence, just working with totals. The second type of sentence is working on values. So it talks about the total of the value. So we have another total is 2.85. 2.85. Well, how would we get the total of the values? Well, it's however many quarters we have times the value of a quarter. How much is a quarter worth? 25 cents. 0.25 times Q for quarter. Plus the number of dimes we have times what they're worth. 0.10 for 10, but you don't have to write that. 0.1 times however many dimes there are. So now let's compare the equations. We look and they've got the value of a dime for a quarter. No. Same thing here. No. H, 0.25 Q plus 10 cents D is equal to 2.85. That works. And then they have Q plus D equals 18. So there we have our answer for H. All right. A spiral notebook contains 30 more. So a spiral notebook contains equals 30 more sheets of paper than a memo book. 30 more than a memo book. That's pretty straightforward. The total number of sheets in 3 new spiral notebooks and 5 memo books is 18. So the total is 810. So we have another total, 810. And it was 3 new spirals. So 3 spirals, that's however many pages are in the spiral, times the 3 of them, plus 5 times the number of memo books. Alright, now let's compare the equations. Now, this one at first doesn't look like it's going to match. Ours has S equals, and that one doesn't. We see the second equation matches, so we're fine with that. So we might initially think that F is not the answer. When we compare the rest of them, we see this one does not work. This one does not match in the same way. They've mixed up their S and 5. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So we can eliminate those. The second equation matches here, and neither of these first ones matched. So we're not quite sure, but we see that it's somewhat similar to this equation. Now, what did they do to get it? Well, we can rearrange ours. It looks like they have their 30 on its own, and we have our 30 with the M, but we can move the M over to the other side. So let's go ahead and rearrange it. S is equal to 30 plus M. We want the 30 to be on its own, so let's get rid of that M. Right now it's adding, so to do the opposite, we'll go minus M, it's gone. So we've got S minus M on the left side is equal to 30, and then we can compare it and see that that's what their F is. Alright, last word problem. The owner of a clothing company buys t-shirts for C dollars and sells them for P dollars. Last month, she bought 600 t-shirts and sold 500 of them and made a profit of 2,800 rather. So to solve this problem, you have to know something about how business works. The profit of 2,800 is our total. That's the end result of what's going to happen. And then we bought some stuff, so that means that's the money we put out. And when we sell some stuff, that's what's coming in. So we'll start with how much we brought in, 500 times the price we sold it for, 500 times P. But we have to take away from that the amount that it cost us to buy the actual thing. So we bought 600 times C, the cost it was to us, 600 times C. Let's think that through and make sure it's right. 500 shirts, and we sold it for a price of P, so we multiply that and get, that's how much money came in. We spent 600 times however much the shirts cost us to buy. So the total amount in minus the amount we spent gives us 2,800. That makes sense. All right. So now the second sentence, this month she bought 400. So she bought 400 and sold them for a profit. Sold them all. So that's all 400 for a profit of 2,400. So this time the profit is 2,400. She bought 400, so that's how much she spent out. 400 times C, the cost was to buy it, and she sold all 400 for a certain price that she made. Then we check our answer choices to see which ones match. That's 500 P minus 600 equals 2,800, 400. All right, A works for our answer. Alright, finally, let's do the other type of problem, which is getting equations from tables or graphs. Here we have two equations in each answer choice. We can rearrange these until they're in y equals mx plus b form, and then we can check to see what the slope of the equations are in the tables and see which ones match with these. You could graph it in your calculator. And the same holds true for this graph one. We can rearrange these to where it's y equals mx plus b, and then graph them and see if they match. We could also plug in zeros for our x and our y and check the x and y intercepts and see if they match. In this case, the answer is F, and in this case, the answer was G. Alright, that is TEK A.2I, Writing Systems of Linear Equations.